Hello and welcome everybody to another Tuesday afternoon program with the Genealogy Center. I am very excited for our speaker today, Daniel Loftus, to talk about mastering Mastodon. So in the age of social media and all the various options out there, this is another tool that we might be able to use in our genealogy research. So I'm very excited for Daniel to get started. So Daniel Loftus, he is also known as Daniel Genealogy. He's the co-founder of the Hidden Branch, which is a group to kind of encourage more young genealogists to get in the field and just make, modernize the genealogy field kind of in general overall. Another kind of cool thing that Daniel has been doing, which is not mentioned in his bio, is something called Project Infant, which is creating this awesome database to find victims of the mother and baby homes in Ireland, which is where Daniel is speaking to us from. So I'm going to stop talking at all of you, and I am going to let Daniel get started.
Hi everyone. Okay, let's see. So, as Elizabeth said, I obviously me being a young genealogist, I love to spend a good bit of my time, not all my time, otherwise I get nothing done, on social media. And obviously, with the way that things are changing and at the rate they're changing, doing genealogy and connecting with others who do genealogy on social media and knowing which platforms to engage on can be quite daunting sometimes. So I'm here to talk about one that is up and coming and has been used quite a bit within the genealogy community, which you may not be familiar with, but that's what I'm here for. It's called Mastodon. And as for how this presentation will run, this might take about maybe 25 to 30 minutes. And afterwards, I'm gonna do a Q&A session where I can demonstrate things to people if they have any further questions that I didn't already cover. But without further ado, let's get going. So let me just grab my slides up here. So I am here to talk about another tool that can be added to our arsenal as genealogists and engaging with the genealogy community online. So a bit about me, as Elizabeth has said, I am the co-founder of the Hidden Branch, which is a place for young people to kind of get resources that might help them along in their genealogy journey, that might make the start seem less daunting, which is what I wish I had or had known kind of when I started. So that's kind of why that was started. And of course, Project Infant, which is a more recent commitment that I started in July of last year. So I might talk a bit more about that at the end. But so here is what I'm really going to cover. I'm not going to go too in depth because I don't want to overwhelm people, because some people might just be like, okay, I just want to know the basics before I go any further into this. So I'm going to be showing you, how do you set up an account on it? How do you connect with others? How to use it once you have set up an account, and where can you get it? Is it an app? Is it a website? What is it? So first of all, again, we know it's a social media network, but what is it? So this has been going a while, but mostly gained traction probably within the last 4 or 5 months. And it was started in March 2016 and is free open source software for running self-hosted services. And you'll find kind of as you kind of see the screenshots I put in and maybe at the end, the kind of similarities that it has to other social media networks, which also do kind of show in Mastodon when you're using it. So obviously with every platform, it has its advantages and disadvantages. Now, these are just some of them that I could think of that could jump out at me. I haven't seen any since. I am using my slides from when I did it back in, I think, November. So thankfully, it hasn't really changed much. The only kind of thing that I did add was the fact that there is no verification system. So obviously, when you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatnot, if there's a public figure on there, you'll sometimes see a little blue check mark signifying that that is the verified account of that person. It is that person running that account. So starting off, how do we set up an account? So this is taken from the Mastodon app on my phone, these images, and it's from the iOS version. So it's probably not going to look that much different on the Android version, but I just thought I should say that. So in the handout, which will be signified with this, you will find handy links to take you to wherever. So whenever you open the app, you'll be shown, these are the list of available servers. Now, some are open, and by open, I mean you can just go in, create an account, and you're in, or you have to apply to get in, because sometimes, if a server gets a lot of members, they might just crack down on kind of how many people can join, so that they just moderate people coming in so that they can, take the load of all of them. So one thing that has changed since I did present this first was that there was no kind of specific server or instance for the genealogists to hang out. And in about maybe December or January, there was a server called Genealogist. Again, that link is also on the handout, that people can join, that is kind of more catered for genealogy. It's just kind of a hangout for them. And then regardless of whatever one you choose, you'll get asked to choose a display name. So this could be your name. So I could stick in Daniel Loftus, or I could stick in Daniel's Genealogy, or whatever. That's my display name. And then my username is my handle. So like my handle could be @Daniel's Genealogy, and I could choose that as my username. Good part is I haven't found a character limit on them yet, so very flexible as to what you can put in. And then some might ask you why you want to join, some mightn't, and then email and password. So that's that. And obviously, social media is there to try and connect with others sometimes, in some cases. So Mastodon is not like other social media networks like Twitter or Facebook, where you have an algorithm and it gives you content in your timeline of stuff that you might have liked. So say if you liked a load of cat videos or something, it won't give that to you. You necessarily have to go under a hashtag cats or hashtag genealogy to find things that you want. So that's why hashtags have a heavy reliance when using Mastodon. You need to kind of keep using them if you want people to necessarily find you, or you want to find others. So there is another thing. So back when the genealogy community was trying out Mastodon, genealogist Mish J. Holman had started a directory for people to basically stick in their details, their handle, their specialty, just a way for more people to find them. And again, a link to that is in the handout. A URL, so if someone gave you a URL, so if I gave you mine, which I'll put up on the next slide as an example, you just type that in and that will take you straight to my profile. And then you have the Academics of Mastodon GitHub repository. That is a list of kind of, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it, kind of links to directories like Mish's, who, if there's a history community, like an archaeology, different things, they'll be there. So when using Mastodon, we have to kind of look at how the username works, because as you can see here, it's a bit different compared to Twitter or Facebook. So the way the username works is almost like an email address, but the first part is the username or the handle that you chose when you signed up. So my handle on it is the Daniel Genealogy. I think I cut off a bit of the G with the line, but that's the username I chose on the sign up. And then the genealogist.social is the URL of the instance that I joined. So going back quickly to here, if I picked mastodon.world, my username would then be at the Daniel's Genealogy or whatever I chose at mastodon.world. The address of the instance is whatever this is. So at c.im, at mastodon.world, at mastodon.sdf.org, whatever it is. So it's almost like an email address, but not at the same time, if you get my point. Another thing is, if you are on the same instance, so if there was someone else on the genealogist server or the instance, then I wouldn't necessarily have to stick in the full part. I only have to stick in the username. However, if someone was on the toot.community server and I was on the genealogist.social server, then I'd have to stick in the whole thing. So instead of if we were on the same local domain or this local instance, it would be genealogist at the Daniel's Genealogy or at John Smith, whatever the username is. But if John Smith was on toot.community, it would be at John Smith at toot.community to find them. Another way, as I said, was using a URL. So it's pretty easy to kind of figure out, because if you had someone, let's say, post on Facebook, this is my username on Mastodon, come find me. You could just obviously click on the link and it would take you to their profile. But what if you necessarily didn't have a link and they just gave you the handle? So this is obviously what you'd be given. And to turn that into a URL, you'd practically just rotate, or sorry, swap places. So it would be genealogist.social / at username. Okay, then, and obviously that would give you this, and that's the URL. So now you got your account set up and now you've connected with a couple of people, how do you go about using it? So this is an example of a post that you would see on Mastodon. So again, a couple of these screenshots are outdated in terms of the picture, but besides the point. So these are just to give you an idea of what the buttons are and what each of them are. So you can hide the image, or you have reply, boost, favorite, share, and options. And these are the options menu if you click that button. Now, as I said, Mastodon does not rely on an algorithm. If you like something, that's fine, but no one will see that, or the algorithm won't pick up on that because there isn't one. If you like that and you wanted other people to see it, you boost it. And the beauty of it is, only the people who you follow is all you'll see in your timeline. If you follow one person, only the posts from that one people or boosts that one person shares will show up in your timeline. If you follow 50 people, all posts from those 50 people will show up in your timeline. Again, including boosts that they made it shared as well. So this is an example of the kind of a post that you would have. And this would be an example of your profile. So this is an example of mine. So this is kind of the main interface on the web version of Mastodon. So your profile picture is your go-to profile button. And navigation menu on here is fairly simple to use as well. You have the notifications. The Explorer is kind of seeing if you want to search for kind of stuff that was going on, I think, in all of Mastodon. I think I might have gotten wrong on that detail, so I'll check that in the end. So apologies. Now, I did say there was no kind of official verification system. So let's say if I wanted a blue check to my name, I couldn't get one because there is no system. the only way I could get my thing verified to kind of prove something was me. I could prove that I owned this website by putting a line of code into the site itself. So I did that on my website, genealogy.com, and the system picked up on that and said, oh, this person verified that site, so this person owns it. And then obviously you can have 4 fields here, so it doesn't really matter what you put in. You can put in whatever links you like, or if you want to just keep it to 1, that's up to you. I have the link to Project Infant, other links, and then my website, and then I just chose to put in where I am. Again, this is just where you on my Twitter profile or wherever, it's the same thing. So next up, when you're creating a post, you, again, this is what I mean with similarities in terms of, I found that parts of this are similar to Twitter, because you have sort of the emoji thing. So if you didn't have an emoji, if you're using your computer, you could add an emojis. If you can attach an image or a video, same thing. You could attach a poll, but you can do more options than 4. So you can get a good feel for kind of, if you were conducting kind of research or something and you wanted to use Mastodon, you could use a poll and have a pretty extensive one. Privacy options, I will talk about that in, oh, never mind, it's over there. I'll come back to that in a second. So then you have the content warning. So if you're talking about a sensitive topic, you might want to stick in a disclaimer what it was about. Now, not saying you'd necessarily use it for this, but some people use it to hide their Wordle scores, because I know some people like doing Wordle every day. I don't do it, but people in my family do. So kind of if they were posting on Mastodon about the scores, they might kind of put in a content warning and just say Wordle, because some people will know that it'll be a score or something. And then the language of the post, and character count is increased to 500 this time, and 2 to select the post button. Now, for the privacy settings, as far as they go, you can have public, unlisted, followers only, and mention people only. Now, obviously, you have a couple of privacy settings there. Excuse me, that you can choose from. So public is self-explanatory. Unlisted is so like visible for all, but after that, with discovery features. Followers only is just if you wanted to share something with just your followers, you didn't want to broadcast it to the world, you could do that. Or mention people only, that is the direct messages feature on Mastodon. So I will demonstrate that as well after the recording's over. But it's a case of, you could type into the field. So I could type in, let's say I wanted to send a message to Project Infant's account and just keep something in between. I'd go at Project Infant or whatever the username is, type what I want to say, send it. But only the people mentioned, so only my account and Project Infant's account could see it. Next up, again, this is the kind of, this is the navigation menu. So you saw this earlier, but this is just kind of a broken down version of what each button does. So, trending posts from across the Mastodon network. I knew I got that wrong earlier. So that's what it actually is. So the local timeline of tweets from people on your instance. Now, as I said, there was no kind of genealogy specific server or instance for people to go to at the beginning. It only came in, I think, about December or January, maybe. Or actually, no, it was November, because that was my join date, because I joined that server. So it would have been kind of mid-November, I think, that actually came into existence. So the direct messages, that is the kind of privacy settings when you're posting, just mention people only. To see posts you favorited and liked, your bookmarks, see list of accounts you made. So like Twitter lists is probably the best way to describe that. View your account preferences and see who you're following and who's following you. Now, you had the federated timeline, which is It shows all public posts from all users known to your instance. You can see that down in the bottom right. Now, as for the local timeline, if you had, let's say you were on one that was kind of just a fairly general server, and you might necessarily want to see all that's going on. It, again, is entirely up to you whether you want to make your server on a more general one or whether you want to make it on a more genealogy specific one. You can have as many accounts as you want, as far as I know. So I only have the one because I only really talk about genealogy and social media. I don't really talk about anything else. But I joined Genealogist, that server, because it's genealogy specific. So if I click local, I just see people on genealogist.social, just a post from them. And typically it's genealogy themed. So if you did that, and you could obviously, you wouldn't see local posts from another server's instance. You'd have to be on that instance to see it. Now, I came up with this concept, but one thing I like sometimes on Twitter is quote tweeting, which is basically all you're doing is you're quoting. The quoting is just adding a link to a tweet that you want to amplify and adding your own comment to it, but sharing that with your followers. So I came up with quote posting. Similar thing, because as I said, it's just sharing a link or embedding a link in a tweet that you then share. So you can do that with this, and all it would be is you just copy a link of a post that you're on, or you can hit the share button and copy the link from there, depending on what device you're using. Paste the link into the post that you're about to send and say whatever you want with it, and then share it. And people can click on the link and then see what post you're on about. So that helps. Now, we know that some social media networks can be a bit bad or not so good at taking action in terms of moderation or taking down fake accounts. So thankfully with Mastodon, it has a no-nonsense approach. And what I mean by that is that the moderation is done by the moderator or moderators of that server. So there was one case where it was on the Genealogist server and a fake account followed me. And, you know, other people got the same thing as well. And it was just a fake account. It was a bot account going around. And we reported it and it was gone within, I think, a couple of hours. So, like, you know, you don't necessarily have to worry about, you know, the content or being worried that fake accounts are going to be rampant. That's not the case here. So that's how you kind of do the reporting on it on Mastodon. And this is looking at the settings. So this would be helpful if you're wanting to, you know, update your profile, or you're wanting to kind of change your profile picture. So you can, okay, I'm just going to hide this, sorry. I'll just move these controls. There we go. Okay, so you can edit your profiles, so change your profile picture, header, bio, accessibility settings. So if you prefer a light mode or a dark mode, whatever works, and see who's following you. Word filters and content filters, I find they work a bit better. So if you wanted to mute a certain word, you can. Then you have exporting your data and importing Excel lists of whom you're following and who you're blocking. So if you were changing instance for whatever reason, you don't necessarily need to unless that server was closing down. But I haven't seen a situation where that's happened yet. So you shouldn't necessarily have to use the import and export function much. Then you can invite people to your instance. So as far as I know, that is just include copying a link to kind of your profile or something. And if you're a developer, the second last option is kind of perhaps for you. Now, so while I was making this presentation, I needed a bit of help. So these are things regarding what some people would like to know sometimes. So help from Mastodon genealogists, and these were used with permission from Steve Jackson, Jane Chapman, and Steve Little, respectively. So the first post from Steve Jackson is regarding how lists work on Mastodon. And again, with Mastodon, you can kind of redraft things. So let's say if you made a spelling mistake, and you, oh, I really want to fix that. You can just hit delete and redraft, which is in the options menu, and that'll allow you to, redo your post. But redoing the post doesn't necessarily, redoing your post just kind of deletes it. So any engagement that you already had on it is gone. But it saves what you had in the post. So all you have to do is just go back and fix the error, not have to redo the post all again. And then the last bit is to do with if you were switching instance and if you were importing and exporting your your followers and your block list. And then last one, this is from a tweet from a server on Twitter. So some servers are run by organizations, some by individuals. And as you can see there, you will be told if a server is going to close. They won't just launch it at you. So that you don't have to worry about, oh, what if my server shuts down tomorrow? It won't. They have to tell you. They ideally are supposed to tell you 3 months in advance. And finally, well, near the end, not finally yet, some apps that can be used with Mastodon. So I have done a YouTube video, again, included in the comment, or in the handout, excuse me, of iOS apps. I looked at a couple. I think I looked at Metatext, Tusky, no, sorry, not Tusky, Mastodon, and what was the other one? I can't remember the other one, but I personally use Metatext. I found that worked perfectly for me. So have a look at that video, because you may find some features that you prefer that aren't in others. So it's mainly a matter of whatever you choose is kind of what you go for. And I do need to do one for Android as well. So at the time of recording, I've only done an iOS one. I promise I will eventually do an Android one. So some other things, post work, yeah, ignore the see below graphic part. So basically, if you favorite a post, it won't influence what others see. So if you like something and you want others to see it, you boost it. Because that's the only way people will see it. So I know some people might go like, oh, what if I overshare too much? If you want to share, you boost it. And some other things, because now this happened kind of at the start. I'm not sure whether this happens too much now, but I thought I should say it anyway. So if you're signing into Mastodon, make sure to go into the login page for the instance you signed up with. So if I signed up for genealogist.social, I wouldn't be trying to sign into my account using the toot.community server. And of course, there are days where, it kind of errors. So, and nothing is perfect. So patience is needed at some points of the experience as well. It's not just going to be all instant and it's going to be all perfect. I think in the world we live in, that is going to be the way it is. So, and without further ado, and I actually did keep my promise of 25 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. So these are the platforms that you can keep up with me on. I am on more, but I felt like try not to overdo it on that either. So any questions or things you'd like me to demonstrate? I shall try and do them now.
There are definitely some questions. So the first question has to do with verifying identity when creating the account. Why should I use a seemingly unsafe app to research my client's genealogy? Does it not try to verify your identity, like at least through your email? I
You
don't
do have to
remember.
verify your email address. I will actually check my own account settings to see if there's anything about a phone number. I don't think there is. 1 second there.
For a long time with Facebook, it didn't like you didn't have to have a phone number.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I had to add it in fairly recent times because I think Facebook was going to cut me off from my Facebook page or something.
yeah,
So
yeah, same.
I had to. So let's have a look. See preferences. And no, nothing about a phone number. So it's just
Yeah,
email address. So
yeah,
of course I know that might be discouraging to some, but typically people not so much behave, but kind of, they
yeah,
don't kind of go too crazy on, oh my God, I'm gonna, troll people and
yeah.
anything about that. But honestly, it is a very it's a useful platform, and many others have kind of shared the same sentiments. They
Hmm.
found it handy. Some people found it a bit of a piece of fresh air as well, because they could, kind of moderate a bit,
Yeah,
kind of what they wanted to see. So I think that was beneficial for some people too.
yeah. So like as far as like just to go off on what you said about, you finding it useful, um, there were a couple questions about like what kind of things do you post on Mastodon, what materials that other people have posted that, interest you, like have you discovered any hidden gems that you didn't know about?
I mean, as far as kind of how people select what people post on it, I mean, it's like any other social network.
Yeah.
If you were sharing, it's so like if I was sharing on Twitter, if I was having a really bad day, because if I'm looking at records, especially for some areas of Dublin, I was looking at one and it
Hmm.
had said that the kind of district of where this page pertained to was saying it was Finglas and Glasnevin, which is a part of
Yep.
Dublin, or two parts of Dublin. And it was just F squiggle and GL squiggle. So it's like
Yeah.
I couldn't, if I didn't necessarily know the area,
Yeah.
it'd be handy. But no, if I was like vented about that, I could. Or if when like, oh my God, look at this photo that I found of my great grandmother,
Yeah.
I could put that out as well. I just treat it like any other social media network.
Yeah.
It's not solely just a one area content.
Yeah.
It's a wide variety.
So like for those of you who attend our programs on a regular basis, especially programs where we have a big number of attendees, say it's like a program on like, I don't know, like just Irish genealogy in general, there's
Mhm.
always a lot of collaboration happening in the chat. Now think about that type of collaboration where people are sharing resources, sharing their struggles, their pain, their victories. Now think about that all the time. And that is what people like to use social media like this for when doing genealogy. It's awesome.
Mm.
Okay. Um, so the next question I'm seeing, somebody had asked if it if Mastodon was more popular out or more known outside the United States, and what would you see the advantage to this versus like Facebook or Instagram?
Well, I mean, think now I could say something now, but some people might kind of go like, oh, well, I don't necessarily agree with that, or oh, I don't find that works for me. It's a case of you try what works for you, because some
Yeah.
platforms will work for me. I have an account on Instagram. I hardly go near it. I spend more time on Facebook, Twitter, and Mastodon. So I what might work for me might not necessarily work for others. Some people might kind of go, oh, well, I'm not a fan of Twitter, but I love Instagram, or I'm not a fan of
Yeah.
Facebook, but I love TikTok or something. I don't know. So as far as kind of is it known, I've connected with people, in England, in Wales, Scotland, wherever, Germany, France,
I
all over
think,
the US. So it's
yeah.
it's a pretty global thing. I don't think it's geo-specific either.
I've noticed that it's been picking up a little bit more since the drama of Twitter. People are fleeing like rats from a sinking ship.
Mm,
So, yeah,
yeah.
that's
So,
a whole
so
other
it,
conversation.
like it's a case of some people might prefer it over others. I mean, um, it just purely depends on kind of what your preference for a social network is. What do you look for in a social network? Do you look for higher character counts? Do you look for shorter character
Yeah,
counts? Do you look for a more visual platform? Do you look for a more text-based platform? It
yeah.
depends.
But as far as like the collaborative aspect, would you say that Mastodon maybe it has more of an advantage over Facebook and Instagram as far as like collaborative for genealogists, or would you say it's like kind of all about the same? It all depends on how you use it.
I definitely think it depends on how you use it, because obviously some people might kind of say might want to spend more time, so like direct messaging people, or they might have you can still like have a group chat. Like I said, when you were kind of when I was one thing I did actually fail to mention was kind of when you're doing DMs on Mastodon, if you do so like I could do more than one person. I could do
Hmm.
5 people, I could do 10 people.
Hmm.
As long as I can fit it all in 500 characters, that
Yeah.
starts a conversation or a direct message group with all the people I mentioned. So that's kind of how that works. But I mean, I think usage will definitely vary. I
Yeah.
definitely would explore it if you don't necessarily use it, because of course you can delete your account afterwards if you don't necessarily go like, oh, I don't feel this is working out for me. Delete your account. You don't have to, pop back. It's up to you.
You have nothing to lose by
Exactly.
playing. Yeah. I do want to say that while you're presenting, we did have people sharing their Mastodon handles and they're like, oh, I have a new follower now. Oh, I'm going to follow you back. It was very cute. I wanted to point that out.
Oh yeah,
um,
I'm catching up on it now, so
yeah,
I'm slowly getting connected with people now.
right. So there was a question about age limit or their like parental controls. I think this came up when you were talking about moderation.
Yeah, so as far as kind of now obviously, there'll probably be, in a second. I think some yeah, I just found it now because I couldn't think of the word, and it's called decentralized.
Yeah.
So basically each server has their own rules. So
Hmm.
some might kind of say this is an 18 plus, or some might say
Okay. Yeah.
this is a more kind of lax one, or it might be 18 plus, it might be
Yeah.
16 plus 21. I don't know. I would check kind of the rules of the server before you join, because there might be so like a hidden, not so much a hidden one. So it's you have to look basically to just see.
Yeah. And, if you're somebody, I'm not sure how old the person who asked this, if you are someone who is a parent and you're worried about it, from experience of reporting some wild stuff on Facebook and nothing happening, it sounds like Mastodon is better about taking it down. If
No,
it,
it incredibly
yeah,
is.
yeah,
I definitely found that, and I get that as a total genuine concern,
yeah,
because obviously, unfortunately, as
yeah,
I've said in the past before, I had been bullied on social media before. I had reported it to Instagram, I reported it to Snapchat, the platforms I was on.
yeah,
Nothing got done. So,
yeah,
I felt like I was being let down in that sense. But if I discovered Mastodon back then, things might have been totally different.
yeah,
So, and honestly, the um the moderator for the genealogist one is pretty quick to act on things. So, if there's something that isn't okay,
yeah,
um, you can report it. And not only can you report it to the person, I'll give you an example here. So say John is going on a fight with Mary, and Mary is on Tooch.community,
hmm,
and John is on Mastodon.lol. I don't even know if that's a real thing. I just made it up. So if Mary like receives abuse from John,
hmm,
she can report it to Mary's own instance admin, so to community, but she can also report it to John's who can also take action on their end. So it's not just solely on the server that your account is on. You can also forward the report to the admin of the other one. So there is that kind of added layer of kind of safe feeling as well. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but kind of I definitely kind of felt like it's a more positive place for discussion and connecting with others than, let's say, Facebook or Twitter sometimes is. Because obviously we all know that there can be toxicity in some things, but of course there can be toxicity in other platforms too. It's not just those two. But I definitely think it's a better way of mitigating things.
Yeah, the person who asked said that they had a 7th grader who does genealogy. This is when you should plug the hidden branch.
Yes. If that person wanted to message me, whoever that is, on any of the contact info that I stuck up, don't feel you have to, but kind of I'd love to tell you more about the hidden branch and how it might be of use. So
I'm gonna put a link
there's
to
that
it.
plug.
I'm gonna put a link to it in the chat, to the Hidden Branch's website.
The hiddenbranch.com. There you go. So yeah, I just saw this Ronnie Grant. I think I might take the plunge as well. Yeah, do. You got nothing to lose. Honestly, I find that, you know, this is a time to be trying new things with social media. Sure, it can be a bit exhausting or a bit kind of, oh my God, will I ever find the right one? But it's a case of, you know, you find what works for you.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with taking a plunge, creating an account, trying it out for a while. If you find out a couple of weeks, not really working for me, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can delete your account. There's nothing wrong with that.
You're not signing a contract in blood.
No,
like
you're not signing your life away. You're just trying out a social media network. That is all.
So there were 2 final questions in the Q&A. The last one I want to ask you it does briefly mention Project Infant, so that's why we're going to end on that one. But the next question, this person said that they posted a picture on Mastodon, and a day later somebody asked if I was going to put a description about it. I had no idea what they were talking about. Then they told me to add a description for the visually impaired, which I did. But since then I haven't. Have you run into anything like this? So the alt text thing, I think, is what she's referring to.
Yes. So I will actually demonstrate this part. So 1 second here. I will go onto Mastodon quickly.
I'm going to put a link to a thing about that for those who will want that later. I think it's referring to Twitter, though.
Accessibility is another thing. So if if you are on Twitter, follow @scientist_Soph or Dr. Sophie K. She does a lot of work in making the whole genealogy community more accessible. So she had actually done a post on her blog that gained a bit of traction a while ago and still should, based on kind of how you can make your content on social media regarding genealogy more friendly. So I think my thing is showing. Yes, it is. Okay, so let's just say I wanted to just pause this for a second while I find a photo that I can stick in. That image, let's see.
While you do that, I just want to mention to everybody, if you would like a copy of the chat, send us an email. Our email is genealogy@acpl.info, which I see my colleague Kate has already put it in the chat. She's so fast. So yeah, if you have questions for, us, feel free to email us. You can also email Daniel as well. I think his contact info is in that handout.
Oh, that I didn't do. I need to do that more.
You should do that.
My email is DANS genealogy@gmail.com, because unfortunately someone took Daniel's, so I had to compromise. So let's just say I was going to tweet out an image. So I might delete this post afterwards, but kind of I'll just say check out the hidden branch today. So if I want to add alt text, I could go here and kind of, we had to delete. So if I wanted to remove the image, I could go here. If I wanted to edit the image in the terms of, this could detect texting people. So if you were posting like an article and you didn't necessarily want to stick the thing in, you could use that and it would detect the text from the image. So you can either do it by two ways. Sorry, you can either hit edit or you can hit no description added, either one of those. And that will take you to a little pop-up thing here that you could do. So I could put in a tree with leaves falling off with text underneath. I need to get better at this, so apologies if my alt text game is off. With text underneath reading the hidden branch. So kind of just say a logo at the start. So a logo, trees with leaves falling off with text underneath reading the hidden branch. And then I hit apply, and as you can see, that no description added thing is gone. And that's because it's gone in. So
It's something that's very helpful for the visually impaired.
Incredibly, yes.
Yeah, if you want to go on something like Mastodon, and you see it also on Facebook, you see it also on Twitter, like I think a lot of those social media platforms are starting to allow people to add that alt text for those who need it. And you want to share things, you want to ask for help, so you can describe it and you can get even more help from people. Share more things with people who might not be able to see just an image. So that's kind of why a lot of social media platforms have started adding that as an option.
Yeah. So I'm just going to hit publish on this. So let's say I have my post ready to go. I hit publish. Oh yeah, depending on what server you're on, it might say publish, it might say to, it depends. But you can see, so like I posted my post. I can hide the image if I just want to see, just the post itself. But if I hover over, you can see the alt text that I stuck in, a logo, trees with leaves falling off with text underneath reading the hidden branch. That's the alt text. So kind of if you did that, that's obviously better. But it's whenever you kind of hover over the image. So that's kind of how the alt text side of things work for that. I'm not sure if there's anything else. So
if you're ready, we have one final question, and you can take a moment to talk a little bit about Project Infant when you answer this question.
Go on.
Yeah,
go on. Let's do it.
So this person was asking, is there something about Mastodon that makes it easier or better than, say, a blog for posting like updates about Project Infant? And you can use this to plug.
Yeah, I will actually use it as a plug, because you so graciously opened it up like that. So with Project Infant, as Elizabeth said at the start, it is a database, or eventually will be. It's in development. A database of all mothers and infants who died in mother and baby homes in Ireland. However, I am hoping to open that up to other institutions that operated in Ireland during that similar period of time as well. So as for kind of Mastodon, if I wanted something to see it, so again, I will show you Project Infant's account compared to I'll pull up the Twitter account as well for it. Why not? So that you can just see the difference. So let's say I'm here and let's see. Okay, so I'm going on to. No, I didn't want to go on to Genealogists or a different page. So one thing I did find is that Mastodon, like I said, it doesn't have an algorithm. So you can see that Project Infant has 334 followers on Twitter. So, and if you take a look at, if I can find my most recent tweet from Project Infant, pardon me. So 2 replies, 5 retweets, and 11 likes, whatever. So that got that was irregular in the sense that I don't tend to get that engagement on Project Infant's tweets. So I'll try a different one in a second. Okay, there. So from I posted about a segment on a news program regarding mother and baby homes, and it was me, because you can see that I'm currently in my Twitter account at the moment. So kind of it was just me that shared it. So if I went to the Project Infant account, it works. I could go on here and I could see, new content. So I update people. So granted, I know it's not a lot of engagement, but the thing is, the page on here, which has, I think, 52 followers, that would, anything I post on that account would be pushed to all 52 people who are following it, and it would show up on their timeline. Twitter, touch and go as to whether you see something or not, because that has an algorithm. And if some people, don't necessarily engage with Project Difference content, that won't necessarily be driven towards them. But as going back to the original question, because I'm trying not to stray too far away, basically, I wouldn't say it's better than a blog, because as I said, you only have 500 characters. So that must necessarily be, ideal for people. They might want to write a bit more, so they might. So like what I sometimes do, because I have a Substack, that's my blog in a way, because I was just getting fed up with the algorithms not showing my content, because I'm like, hey, look at this cool find, and nobody saw it. So it's that's kind of why I put in the Substack. So what I tend to do is whenever I publish a new issue, I tend to put it up and share it put it up on my social media for people to see. And Mastodon, I found, tends to get a bit more engagement in terms of more people see it, because it shows up in their timelines. And, it's a better chance of more people seeing it, because, it's pushed to everyone by default, but people who see it can retweet. I keep saying retweet, my mind's in Twitter mode. They can boost it to, share it with their followers, and then on and on and on. So as for kind of, if I say it's better than a blog, no, I wouldn't say it's better than a blog. I'd say it's more a kind of a more surefire way for people to see what you share.
Yeah.
That's probably a better way of describing it.
A tool to increase engagement, basically.
Yeah, to increase engagement, and also to kind of connect with others. Because like I said, there's quite a big community of genealogists already on Mastodon. And it's a case of, I'll actually, one thing I did forget to show you was the local timeline. So if I went onto the local timeline, so I'm on the genealogist.social. So this is so like people on the genealogist server who were sharing, their own content. So there's my post that I just did a couple of minutes ago. There's people sharing about mtDNA, people getting started. I can favorite that and say, welcome to Mastodon. And then I hit publish, and then I can share that with other people by boosting it so that other people can follow this person if they want to. And then I can just keep going. It's just a case of, it's nice because if you're on the genealogy server and if you don't necessarily add in the hashtag genealogy, so let's just say this post doesn't have it. If you didn't necessarily add in hashtag genealogy, you probably wouldn't see the post, because as I said, Mastodon is a very hashtag reliant one. But if you're on a Mastodon server that is more catered towards genealogy, i.e. genealogists, you have a higher chance of seeing genealogy content that you like. So like there's a variety of stuff here, Few Forgotten Women.
And also, Dan, for people like, Daniel, who are doing a project where they need volunteers,
no,
you can enlist volunteers.
Yeah,
so before we wrap up, do you want to try to coax people into volunteering for Project Infant before we finish?
Yeah. It's a good point that you remind me of that, because that completely left my mind. So basically with Project Infant, kind of it's a one-man effort in the sense that I run the site, I update the site frequently, but the research that's conducted with it is crowd-led. So like I have a team of, I think, about 11 volunteers who joined in to help. all around the world, and there is no, you don't have to put in any kind of specific time commitment. If you don't necessarily have knowledge of Irish records, which comes in really handy in this, I can always show you the ropes. Like, if anyone even just wants to get more info about volunteering, if you do, I should actually put up the email address that I use for that. So I'll put that up in the chat. But kind of, if you contact me and you want to know more about Project Infant volunteering, I'd be more than happy to kind of oblige and, just talk to you all more about it, because honestly, look, Catherine Nagay Brereton, who helped me research who researched the Castle Pollard home, was very glad to be able to be a part of it. Genealogy Jess on Twitter, she helps out with the transcription, so she found it very poignant being able to help as well. So if you want to help out and be a part of it, there's no obligation to. But if you do want to kind of spend a bit of your time helping to transcribe entries of unfortunately young infants who died in these homes across Ireland, or you wanted to help research them, let me know, because I'd love to have you on board. And it's a big task when I started, but as the saying goes, many hands make light work. So having more people joining in does help. So again, if you do want to help out, just email the address, send an email to the email address I just stuck up. So yeah, I'll be quiet now.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's definitely very dark work, but that's also that's Ireland. But it's really important work that y'all are working on, and it's such a big project. This is why the community is really important. So I'm glad that I made a point to remind Daniel to try to enlist volunteers. All right, so we are just about out of time. Thank you, Daniel, for such a lovely presentation. And thanks to all of you for joining us. So as I said earlier, and as I've said in the chat, if you want a copy of the chat, send us an email. It's genealogy@ascpl.info, which it's there. I can stick it in the chat one more time, just for the sake of doing it. And I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again. Bye.